So that's our.
Right, just starting.
Yes.
I'm Stacy, by the way.
Oh, it's Stacey.
I'm Evie.
Welcome.
So should we?
I'm just saying forever. I mean, he's that special. No lying.
I want to work from home.
Almost ready. She's pulling up her stuff right now.
Okay. Now see what you can, if you can. Okay.
Question is, are you able to face your camera on audience? Yours?
I'm unmuted. Let me.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order this August 30th, just after 6:30. My name is Albert Silva. I am the co-chair or the second vice chair of the School Advisory Committee. Our chairperson was not able to make it. She sends her apologies, but she left me in her place. So she, again, sends her apologies for that. Thank you. I've been working on that one. I'll be my wife. To start off, we'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand. Please remove your headgear unless it's a religious occasion. We have a flag forward. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't have an agenda in front of you, we do not have any more up here. There's one more. Our first biggest introduction today is one that we all know and love.
You want to mute yours? They're having a hard time hearing.
Oh,
So
are
I'll
they?
mute
Okay.
mine.
Jam. So Jeff is here joining us. So we always love Champ, and he's certainly our school mascot. But we'd definitely like to welcome our new principal, Mr. Schwartz.
Hi, everybody. I want to say thanks for coming. It's a pretty good crowd. I know it depends on the level. Sometimes I've seen great crowds and sometimes not so much. So very happy that you're all here to join us for our first SAC meeting. And so the year started off with good as it can under circumstances. So we're moving right along. Had our first football game canceled because of the other team's COVID exposure. So we're hoping to get back on track this week. Everything else is up and moving. And, you know, we're doing the best we can with what we got. So the kids are coming every day, happy to be here. We're happy to be here as a staff, and the teachers are happy. And it's a good vibe right now. And it's really nice to be a part of an amazing school. So if you ever need me, you know, I send those connected messages out. You can respond to that. Email me, you can call the school. I'm available for whatever you need. I'll also be at all these meetings. So if you have questions, of course, you can have that. I don't always have the answers, but I can find them for you. So thank you. That's all really. I don't have a lot today because it's early.
Would it be okay if we have an open question towards the end of the meeting? So
Yeah,
we can
absolutely.
start
You have some
gathering your
questions?
questions.
Not too hard though. I'm new. So I may use them a lot. I'm just kidding. I know a lot. Not a lot. So.
Prepare yourselves on that. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Next on our agenda is the setting of the school advisory committee meeting dates. Brandon, have we set usually I believe it's always
It's usually towards the end of the month, that Monday, that usually third or fourth Monday of the month.
so just kind of anticipate the fourth Monday of the month. We don't have all of them set. We're still working with the school calendar. We haven't been able to get all the way through it, but just kind of anticipate we are going to be going on the about usually the fourth Monday here, and or if we have to change anything, location, if anything changes. So I'll have to be flexible on that. Next on our agenda is to update the school advisory committee membership form. As what was asked in the, as you would all sign in just signing in, you're a member, so welcome. But according to our bylaws, membership is, we start membership at the first meeting. And to continue as membership, our bylaws state that you are a member until you miss 2 meetings. So at that point, you kind of fall off, but again, you can always come back and then reinstate your membership. And what membership means is that you have the ability and the authority to vote on anything that we are voting for on that day. We need to, I believe, you had a form, or you're just going to take it off?
So there's a specific form that we have to turn in, you know, of course, that's state required. So we'll have to put in every name. One thing I did forget to make sure and have is if you're a parent, I know who the staff are, of course, because we have to designate who is who, or a community member if you're not a parent. So staff, community member, or parent, because our percentages are, you know, we're governed by having a certain percentage that of voting members that are non-staff. So it looks like we're doing pretty good. So that form, of course, will have to be filled out, and our chair person will sign off on it, and that will get submitted. If there's anybody here that was just coming to just see what it's like and just really didn't want to be a voting member, you're more than welcome to let us know that too. You don't have to be a voting member to attend at all. When it comes time to vote, of course, you have to be a voting member. Like I can't be a voting member as an assistant principal, only our principal can. Last year was a little bit different because of the situation we were in. But if you're just here and those that are viewing online, of course, they're viewing and they're participating, but it's more of just to see what it's like and, you know, that sort of thing. To be a voting member, you would have to be present at our meetings. The state is not allowing us to have the meet quorum with virtual participants. So we'll get all of that paperwork done. If there's anybody, like I said, that's not wanting to be a voting member, just please let me know before the end of the night, and we will not, I won't put you on the official paperwork that we have to turn in. But we will, so the first, and you'll have to pardon me because when I came in last December, everything was virtual. So having one face to face is a little different. But from my understanding, we have to vote on the new members, or is that the next meeting once all the paperwork's finished?
Usually, I think we do it at the first meeting.
Yeah, for the returning members, I'm assuming would be the voters.
Mhm.
Okay. And so we would have our returning members, just raise your hand if you're a returning member. Okay, good. Oh, I have to.
I was gonna say,
Sometimes I come so prepared. Like one time I hid my Christmas decorations and totally forgot where I put them. Yeah.
Mr.
we
Steve,
will later on.
Yeah,
you did not circle which category you.
I'm undecided on.
So this is what I had from last year.
Mr. Harry.
This was our mid, I'm like,
Maybe
this is
remember
the
the update.
beginning. This is the beginning and this was mid-year. Like I went
So
back
this
through
was
and
the
checked them
last
all.
one?
Yeah,
And
this one.
Jill? Thank you.
So how many?
Oh, you already did? I didn't know you did a sign-in sheet too.
Yeah, I made
Okay.
one.
Okay. So this is these are the members from last year. So as long as we have enough present, we should be fine. I don't know if someone wants to do the math really quick.
You want to do the math or just kind of trustworthy?
I think I think we can do good. Yeah.
So just wanna have somebody make a motion to accept the new members. And then somebody
Would it be
second.
possible to get a returning voting member to make a motion to accept the new membership as written on these sign-in sheets? And then I'll need a second.
Is that Tina?
So the motion on the floor, which is first and seconded, so we need a all in favor to accept the voting or the membership as written in these sign-in sheets going forward.
Say
For
aye.
approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right.
Now you're tied in.
It's gonna be school improvement plan.
We're going to review, I guess, the next is the review of the draft of the school improvement plan. I'll turn that over.
All right, so I'm Mrs. Say, I'm one of the assistant principals here at FPC. I'm also Champ's mom, it's more my important role. People usually don't really care to see me anymore. They're like, where's Champ? And he only usually comes about once a week, just to get acclimated with the school. He is going through a pretty extensive therapy dog training that started last month. So once he gets that all done, he will be around a little bit more to work with our students with special needs and work on their IEP goals and some of our mental health therapy and different things like that. So we'll be wanting ideas of how to use him and what to use him for. But so the school improvement plan, which is also called the SIP, the school improvement plan is a living document that we develop using data from multiple sources. It's it is, if you're in education, you understand what it is, but if you're not, it's a very comprehensive, ginormous document. And so I pulled out just some highlighted areas that I know that you would
That's
be
that. I think we're just gonna pick who
would want to know
so
more
far.
information about. So I'm going to share that with you. And then the rough draft or first copy is due to our district office by Friday. And then the final draft is due by October. And it will actually they're all printed, posted for public viewing once they're complete. And you'll be able to see, I have to share my screen.
start my whole computer. It's very strange. Now it's not mine. Yeah, I know, I'm trying. You can understand the challenges that our teachers went through last year when they were trying to Zoom and teach at the same time, and it's not, now it's frozen. I'm going to- Let's try it this way. There we go. There's all my tabs. All right, apologize about that. It doesn't work one way, it works another. So first, we're going to look at our ELA achievement. And as you all know, we don't have data for our 1920 school year. That was the year that the district or the state, ixnayed all of our end of year assessments, and we don't have the data. So what we're doing is we're going. Want me to stay muted?
No, unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Since you're talking. so
Okay.
That makes sense.
So what we're looking at when we look at data is from 1819, which would have been 2 years ago, to our 2021, our current data. So what we like to see, what we want to see is not a huge difference. Now we're going to see, because we call it the COVID slide, we call it the COVID year. And FPC really, compared to the state and compared to other high schools, we really held our own. We did, and the kids did an amazing job. The teachers did an amazing job. So as you can see, here's our, I thought it was very interesting that the 9th grade achievement was the one that was probably affected the most. So those are our incoming 8th graders. Those are those freshmen that have never been on campus before. We usually see a freshman slide. And that's very typical because they get on our campus and they're like, whoa, I mean, you go from Buddy Taylor, Indian Trails that has anywhere from 800 to 900 students to FPC, that's like a small village. And so they get to us in their freshman year, they don't quite understand what GPA is. The middle schools have done a fantastic job of getting them more used to what a GPA is and simulating a GPA with their grades at the middle school level, but they still don't quite get it once they get to the high school and really are here and experience what it's like. You do your work, it's more independent. You should see them at lunch. Like we can totally spot a 9th grader over the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders because they're sort of like running around like, like, I don't want to say little kids, but younger kids because they're 9th graders. And then as they go through the year. So as we can see, we went up in 10th grade achievement, and then we look at our subgroups. So what we have are multiple subgroups, and it's not just us. I mean, of course, everybody in the state has these subgroups, and it's our students, our population of students. And we have to have at least 10 students in that subgroup for it to count towards our overall score. And this is with the Every Student Succeeds Act. It's a federal, it's called, you'll also hear it called ESSA. And so you can see our subgroups. A couple of the subgroups we didn't move at all, which is great, with our students with disabilities and our African American students. So what that tells us is during that COVID year, we didn't see a whole lot of slide. We know there is some, definitely, but it's a great testament to the teachers and the students, keeping up with their work and being engaged in their learning. We saw a little bit of a slide with our white population, and then again with our Hispanic. Asian went up pretty good amount. And then, so in education, we like to use a lot of acronyms. So when I'm talking to parents, I try to spell it all out and then go back and use the acronym. So SWD is students with disabilities. And then, so that's any student that is on an IEP, that has an IEP that's identified as having a disability. And then SES is socioeconomic status. So SES disadvantage of any student that qualifies for free or reduced lunch. And then ELL subgroup is English language learners. So that's any of our students where English language is the second language at home and spoken in communication is their second, English is their second language. It's also, you probably heard it referred to as ESOL, English speakers of other languages. So those are all of our different subgroups that we have to report that to make sure that not just our overall student population is making achievement and making growth, but that every subgroup is showing growth. And any subgroup that's not, it's identified, and we really have to make sure and hone on that subgroup. So ELA is one area, and this is actually, you'll see when I review our 5 focus areas, it's one of our district focus areas is high literacy achievement. Okay, so math, algebra. So math, we struggled a little bit more. And so that's definitely something that we are going to take a look at more closely this year. Again, you can see the overall 9th grade achievement. And I really think this, I mean, this is just my analysis of it, we had so many students that weren't on campus. And I don't know off the top of my head the percentage of 9th graders, but it's just that transition year to high school among all the other stuff that was happening. I think with those 9th graders, it was very difficult. And I mean, that's just my perception by analyzing the data. So you can see again, the subgroups and how that is broken down. So we did not, NA, if it says NA, is that we didn't have enough students within that subgroup that took our algebra, because it's based on our algebra FSA or end of course exam. So FSA is their English. So there has to be enough students in that category to have taken that state test. And then we had some, because we have, we don't just have algebra. We have students in LAM, we have students in geometry, we have students in algebra 2, all the way up to some really hard stuff that I don't know. Like analyzing statistics, I don't know. It's just amazing what they know and learn. So any questions about our ELA or our math data?
And this is straight proficiency. This is
Yeah.
like a learning game. So this is going from, so those students in 2021 that are 9th grade were in 7th grade in 18-19. Now 18-19 are now our juniors, or actually probably seniors now. But still, that's just a difference in that year. And so that 3 months at the end of 20, was that 20? Yes, where they went home. We saw a lot of slide there because they were working from home. And then again, with so much that was online last year.
Yeah, and then it carried over.
You saw a lot of learning loss, and that was across the state. So that's our data is not where we want to be, but it mirrors what the state looks like when it comes to achievement. So it's one of those pieces we're going to keep working on.
And
so
I could
keep jumping in. That's sort of how
no, absolutely. And I could really get into, like, when I say we have so much data, we have so much data that is embedded into our school improvement plan, but to explain in layman's term exactly what it all means, we'd be here for like 3 hours. And so I really wanted to just pull out, the parts that I thought that the parents and the public would, have the most stake in or understand the most, because they are graduation requirements. That's really the biggest thing is our geometry is a graduation requirement too. But it's a little bit different than the algebra. But ELA is definitely, and then algebra those are our 2 biggest, I guess, heavy hitters, you could call them, our end of year tests. So according to all this data, then we have areas of focus. So what the school improvement plan does is it takes all of our data. We have to identify our stakeholders, which are all our administrators, our interventionists, both classroom and both academic and behavior, we're going to include this year our support facilitators, which are ESE teachers. And so we identify all of our stakeholders that are responsible for helping to meet these goals in these areas of focus. We take all of our data, which is, like I said, it's pretty extensive. Some of it I even look at sometimes and I'm like, wait a second, which one are we talking about? What are we looking at here? And then we analyze all of that, and then we get to our goals. And our areas of focus are literacy and high expectation, graduation rate, which we know that, this year it's going to be we were making tremendous gains there for a little while. This year we're sort of predicting it may not be as, huge increase as we've seen in the past, but we're going to just keep, working hard and making sure that those kids, our goal, of course, is 100% graduation for all those kids to walk across that stage. And most of my experience has been at the elementary level. My first 13 years, I was an elementary school teacher. And then the last 7, 8 years, since I've been out of the classroom, has been pretty diversified between the district office and the high school level. And it is so, and once you get up to the high school level, you have to understand, the lower grades have to understand how valuable and how important it is for students to be able to graduate, especially with their cohort, which means the students that they enter 9th grade with. So there is a lot that goes into a graduation rate. It's not just the amount of kids that go across the stage. You'd be shocked as to what really goes into that graduation rate. And if you really would like to dive deep, we'll be happy to have a sidebar about that. But that's why it's so important that once they get to us in 9th grade, that they continue to move with their 9th grade, then 10th grade, they move with their cohort and then graduate with their cohort, because that's what counts as our graduation rate. And we do a phenomenal job here with our graduation 100, grad 100, we call it. And getting those kids to where they need to be to graduate, because there's power in having that high school diploma. Yes.
The 1819, is that a identifier for all of the curriculum? That was that 1819?
It's a standard test. So
Oh,
it's just a standard test. So every year you take the algebra, EOC, the FSA, or DLA and math. So those are just standard tests that the students take every year.
okay.
So it's comparing the data from 1819 to the 2021 year. So every year you can go back for the past 10 years and look at your 10 years worth of school-based data.
Okay.
So based on the data you just showed,
Mhm.
is the school district expecting the graduation rate to go down? And that's where we want to do these things to make sure that we.
There's definitely the amount of students that we're not really sure, like, where did they go? They never came back to us, because that will hurt our graduation rate. So yeah, nationwide, we're looking at, trends as to some backsliding. And that's why we're having to really make sure that those gaps are filled, but then still teach the current curriculum. So it can be very challenging.
And the graduation rate, along with the acceleration, is a year lagging. So like for the 2021 school year, which really didn't opt in, it was really the 1920 school year data. So it's that those two pieces doesn't mirror your current academic. It's like a year behind because you don't get all that information until into the next year. So that's it's always lagging a little bit.
And so that's another thing we have to take into consideration when we're looking at data. Is it lagging or is it current? Like, which one are we looking at? And even in the school improvement plan, there's a place for us to put our lagging data, and then there's a place for us to put our current data. So it can be, it's like we need a PhD in data analysis. It's pretty intense. But those are great questions. And any questions that you have, because like I was explaining to my husband, I said, if I tried to explain this to you, it'd be like you trying to explain to me how you build a house, and I believe you. But I ask a lot of questions, and he's like, "Why are you asking me?" Because I don't know, And that's what I said. As educators, we get to talking and use all these acronyms and jargon, and it's like our second language. But for parents and community members that aren't engulfed in, the day-to-day operations of school, it can be like, you look at us like we have 3 heads. And so we have the graduation rate and then early warning systems. So our early warning systems are attendance, behavior, if they have a discipline, out of school suspensions, and then course failures. So the way that I always remember are the ABCs. So attendance, behavior, and then courses. And so students that have 2 or more early warning indicators have a less likely chance of graduating. So we want to make sure that we identify those students that have multiple early warning indicators and put those interventions in place to deter, dropout prevention, or, to deter dropout, to, help them along and support them to graduate. Acceleration. So acceleration is a little twofold. Acceleration, that's what we call it. The superintendent introduced last year for our 4+ focus areas, because acceleration, it used to be just students that took IB CTE, which is our career and technical education courses, and they would take end of the year, end of course exams, and they would get certified in various different things from manufacturing to carpentry and that sort of thing, culinary. So those are considered acceleration. We get acceleration points, and that's a whole nother area that we work with our CTE folks. It can be our IB program. What else am I missing? Our AP, what? Dual enrollment for those students that take courses through our college at various colleges that we have agreements with. So that's one piece of acceleration. Then another piece of acceleration is, just like Mr. Schwartz was saying, is that being able to catch those kids up, being able to use those intervention pieces to be able to catch the kids up to close that gap. So that's acceleration is twofold. And then increased achievement for students with disabilities. So these areas here, these first 4 focus areas are part of our district plan. And then we have to make sure we include any subgroup that we have not met that 30% achievement in, and that we only have one, which is, I think that's pretty darn good for a school our size. I know other schools that have multiple ones, but our subgroup that we really need to focus with all our might is our students with disabilities. So those are our students with IEPs. It could be anywhere from OHI, which is other health impaired, to a learning disability. We have some students with orthopedic impairment. So it's a very broad umbrella of students of our different exceptionalities. And so we need to make sure that those students are making learning gains and they're achieving right alongside their non-disabled peers. And we have an amazing inclusion program here at FPC that a lot of high schools, really don't embrace like we do. So with some fine tuning of some areas that we have already in place, some different programs we have on campus, I think we're going to see some tremendous improvement in that subgroup. So that's really our school improvement plan, sort of in a nutshell. I tried to explain it as best, in layman's terms, instead of getting very technical, because I think y'all probably would have checked out. So any questions? If you would like to see it more in depth, you're more than welcome. I'd be more than happy to meet with anybody. Okay. Good. All right. Oh, yeah. That's me too. I'll explain that. So the next thing on the agenda is our district advisory committee, and our Title I office is asking for a minimum of 2 representatives for each school. It's only like 2 meetings the whole entire year. It's really not much. The first one's in November. So they just asked for me to put it out there, share it at our first SAC meeting. You don't have to tell, you don't have to run and everybody not run at once and volunteer. But if you're interested in doing that, it's not a huge commitment, but it is sort of nice to get that district, have our stakeholders be involved and have that district voice. I just wanted to make sure, because if I didn't put it on the agenda, I would have, it's like if you don't write it down, you forget to get it at the grocery store. So I wanted to make sure I included that.
So is there anybody here that might want to participate in the district committee at this current moment? Lovely lady in the back. Your name?
Reedy here. If you serve on 2 SACs, would you count for both schools? I'm asking for a friend.
That person may be somebody's new best friend. I don't know. I'd have to ask district. I'm not sure. It's like twice a year. I mean, and we can, if we have more than two, that'd be great. I mean, but at minimum, they're asking for two, just as a district level input.
Any other interests? Thank you to both of you. And if things change, please let us know. Title I.
Okay, so that's me again. Title I. So luckily I'm the AP over Title I also. And so what we have here, go on that side. So every year we need to review our Title I compact, and that is pretty much an agreement between our students, our parents, and our staff. And for those of you that are brand new to SAC, the purpose of SAC is sort of like the governing body, or it's the relationship between the school and the community, whether that be parents or community members. And we take in your feedback, your suggestions, and you help us decide and make some decisions as far as school-based programs and things like that go. In Title I, since we are a Title I school, for those of you that don't know what Title I is a federally funded program for students, for schools that meet a certain threshold of students on free or reduced lunch. So in Flagler County, we have 3 elementary, 1 middle school, and then 1 high school that's a Title I, that are considered Title I schools. And so we have our regular school budget. Then we also have a second budget, and that's our Title I budget. And that helps us to be able to fund different positions and different programs and not too many supplies and stuff like that anymore. It's mostly we invest in people and programs. But one of the biggest things of that is to make sure that our school student parent compact is really covering all areas. So if you could just briefly view it, if you have any suggestions, see anything that we need to delete, are there any typos? I'll give you just a few minutes to review that. And then we can, if nothing more, because we have to send this home and try to, the high school level, it's so hard to get kids to turn anything in, including their homework. So we want to we got to try to get them back. And I'd like to be able to get as many signed at the football game coming up as possible. So I wanted to get it in tonight's meeting.
With the redistricting, the rezoning, is that going to affect our Title I status?
I don't know. I'm sure that's probably come up at some of the discussions. I know they just started those discussions and started housing the like community forums, and I'm sure that has, but I'm sure that's a pretty big question out there for those of us that understand what that means, not just at the high school level, but elementary and then middle. So we'll see.
Are any of those changes happening during the school year?
No. Yes.
Are we looking at fixing things in the document?
Yeah, anything, I mean.
As a parent, in the box on the left, it says communicate and work with them.
Oh, sorry. So, in education, we share a lot. So, we need to make sure it doesn't say that. So that's and that's what I needed extra eyes on for, because I went through and changed a couple acronyms. Bottom left. Oh, yep, got it. Thank you.
In that same square, you might want to capitalize find the quiet place. It's like a 4-star. Yeah.
Oh, the F and find, yep.
Also, also on the board.
Yeah, it should, if they're just statements, then we don't need a period. So I'll go back through and take those off. And I don't know why it printed like where it says I need on the document, it shows 3 dots. I don't know why it didn't print that way. But I'll go erase them and do it again, see if it'll.
Also.
Mhm.
No,
No, please. You know what? I'm one of those people that will
fix a text because it didn't go right. So I am so particular. Or if my kids text me something and if you use the wrong there.
First, I tell them that they did the wrong there, and then they're like, "Mama, it's just a text." So I'm all for please. Yeah.
So in the last, as a parent. of
Yes.
what I need,
Uh-huh.
the bullet, it has, educator council.
Yep, I see that now.
Make a, yes, FP.
So we need to.
But you're doing
Yep,
it.
FPC. We need to stay consistent if we're going to use FPCHS or FPC. Which one do you think we should?
It looks like as a student, second to the bottom, is what it needs to add.
Okay, so we'll do HS throughout the whole document. Okay.
Amber, and as a parent, I promise to the first bullet, you just take out the 2. I promise to 2.
Okay. And just a capital H. I'll make sure I share with my friends too at the other school. Do what? Sometimes it is and sometimes, okay.
Can I make a non-strict grammar suggestion? As a parent, I know as a parent, I need easy access to students' grade independence.
Okay. So that would be an addition.
Just a suggestion.
I wish there was a way.
Follow up to that, where do you see the struggles on that? So to give the staff,
I'm sorry, can you just repeat that?
where do you see the struggles on that you don't see their attendance or grades or?
Yeah, I think that I get a lot of communication from parents who don't understand how to sign up for Skyward, and they have to come into the school, and I think that's a real hindrance for a lot of our families signing up for Skyward.
I agree with
And I would love to see something change in that, because some parents just can't get here during the school day to sign
Right.
up for Skyward.
Yeah.
But they need to physically be present to present the ID to release records. So maybe look for community visits, we do a community Skyward sign up.
Right.
Which I know we did at Carver, but it's a real hindrance.
And
to
any
a lot of
new
my
student,
parents.
the parent is there registering their child. So we could implement a process district-wide with all registrars that any new student like automatically get, I mean, because the parents there, they have to put their ID and, you know, it's just all of the other students. And because I know that Skyward's like my saving grace. You want to go out this weekend? Sorry, you have a few zeros. And they're like, this Skyward thing is ruining my life. I'm like, well, you're ruining your own life. That's your choice. I don't know what to tell you. So it's such a lifesaver. It really is. And the more that the more the kids know, the parents have access to it and can quickly look it up. You know, it's just that accountability piece. So I have some other things that we need to review with our registrar. So I'll, mention that and just be like, Right.
It's so difficult when parents don't have access to Skyward, because often they're caught off
Right.
guard by their students' grade.
Right.
That makes it difficult for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
And if you're mentioning Skyward, it's also nice because sometimes, people at work will lot also have grandparents that help.
Yeah,
And Skyward won't give access to like grandparents. or
Right.
anything Like that, it only lets. older.
right.
So is Skyward and Schoology like all together, right? Or
They're
not?
two
They're
separate programs.
I love Schoology too, and I feel
Yeah.
like that should be also.
Right.
when we
Okay.
Do the new or new.
Right. Yeah. And there is I know, when my girls were at Buddy Taylor, they did a parent night one night of accessing both Schoology and Skyward. So that may be something that we want to, definitely, we can provide that even on a Zoom. It doesn't have to be something that parents come to in person.
I know I personally love it just because like if for instance, your child says, oh, no, I have everything done.
Right.
You can go on that and be like, oh, really? Because there's
Right.
this due, in 2
Right.
days, did you? And he's like, oh, I forgot that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. They miraculously start
Yeah,
to
so
remember.
I love that too.
Yeah.
Skyward.
Okay, good.
Favorite in the, as a school,
Hmm.
I need, it says, is that the teacher?
Yeah. So as the school, yes, this would be like, this is what the teachers need.
Okay. So it's got district support. Would you consider that including administration, like building administrator support? Or should we add a bullet for support from my building administrators? From the teacher's perspective. So that's why is it the schools, everyone here in the building, or just teachers, educators?
It's more of,
Yeah, it's principal teacher signature.
yeah,
Okay. They don't need the administrator.
I don't know. Cause it can be, I mean, as,
The gray area.
yeah, it affects, so many of us. Not just the teachers. Okay, so anything else that we see? We'll come through this again. I'll have a couple of, our other clerical staff comb through it too, and then we'll get the final one out and ready for the football game Friday night.
Next point.
This is new business. Actually, should be reversed. New business. Do we have any new business? One thing that I'd like to make sure that the SAC committee would like to try to implement an open invitation to ask questions outside of this meeting. So on the webpage, we're going to put in I guess, I want to ask, that we're listening and we want to hear your input. We want to hear your questions so we can try to best reply to them in the most appropriate way. And even if it's not a question towards the SAC committee, that we can try to route it to where it should go. So on the website, we're going to see on the school advisory committee, you're going to see a little bit of a change, some more information on who to contact in reference to who are the leadership of the committee, but also a button that you can put in any questions that you want to ask that you either didn't ask here, didn't recall, or just something came up and saying, hey, you have a question, ask the committee. And then we can either route it and then respond to you as best as possible. That's still in the works, and we're trying to get a.
It's actually on there now, so.
Okay, that's posted.
It's already on the site, so.
And so if, you're sharing with anyone else and they have a question and they can post their question online, we will see it each time, review it, and try to respond as best as possible, or at least get it to the people that need to see it. Any new business that somebody might want to bring up that just about this committee? In reference to moving on to old business, we have the minutes of the prior meeting. Up here was the minutes of dated May 24th of 2021. For those of you who have it, please take a moment, give a few seconds to review it and see for accuracy. And when somebody is ready, because all of you are voting members at this moment, can I get a motion to approve minutes as written? And then a second.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
What's your name, sir?
Randy Stroud.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as written, along with a second. May I have a vote of aye for approval of the minutes as written?
Aye.
Any nays? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Last and old business, kind of new. Again, just to restate, just wanted to present the committee. And that I forgot to do at the beginning. So as mentioned, my name is Albert Silva. I am the vice chair, along with the chairperson. Who's not here. Denise, I always have a hard time with her last name.
Harshberger.
Harshberger. We have our secretary, who is Brandon. And those are pretty much the positions that we hold here. Obviously, we did introduce our principal, Mr. Schwartz, and certainly another well-deserved team member that helps quite a bit. So thank you for that. As mentioned before, we're going to kind of open it on the floor. Any questions either to the committee or to Mr. Schwartz? So he's going to try to dodge them as best he can. If not,
So last February, when we so it's this upcoming February, all grades along the homecoming. The freshmen, or the incoming freshmen, and the like exits.
That's a great question. I don't have the answer on the homecoming piece. We narrow it down because we're trying to continue the same grouping of lunches, about 800 students or so. It's 800 students, so that's why we narrowed that down. Homecoming, we are planning on having homecoming. The difference, the change they made was it's going to be that dance portion of it is outside on the where you sit for the cafeteria normally. So it's going to be outside and it'll be tinted. And the DJ will be outside, but all the cafeteria will be open for seating and just to sort of hang out, but then the dancing and that side can be sort of outside. Yeah, there's a.
Are they gonna have it? Are you gonna find out if it's kind of like, are you gonna let people in?
Yeah, we'll let you know as soon as we can. Worst comes to worst, we do it outside on the field. If we can do it outside, then we can invite everybody. It's still a little warm right now, but I think that'd be best case scenario. But I don't have any answer for you, but I put it down so I can talk to you about it.
Freshman and sophomore, and then they did. And like, are there gonna be any activities that?
They're planning on, yeah, right now, we're still planning on doing the homecoming week and homecoming dress up days, all that's coming. I know the SJ had a big meeting about it, they're planning for it. I know they're gonna continue to decorate the halls and do all the normal stuff. We're gonna try and make it as normal as possible. And put in the CDC guidelines, to try and limit the indoor, that 50%. Yeah. What's it normal? I'm new, don't take advantage of it.
She's only a sophomore. This will be her
Oh,
first
okay.
homecoming. Yeah. They didn't have one last year.
I can say normally, I don't, normally there's some type of.
Yeah, I heard that it was student high, but I heard that some kids are coming in like their teens and stuff.
No,
Well, your prom is normally more formal.
Yeah.
it's more semi-formal than,
Yeah.
What's that?
it's more semi-formal.
All right, that's good. All right.
I have a question. So this is my first time like joining a committee here at the school in 3 weeks that we moved to Flagler. So I'm kind of excited. to be
Well,
here.
welcome.
Thank you. So is there like a responsibility for the committee members, like between now and the next meeting that we have? Like, do we have any action items or responsibilities?
So the question was, are there any responsibilities for the committee members between now and the next meeting? And from what I understand, Ms. Say, or either one of you, is no. What you'll do is you normally get an agenda a few days ahead of time. You review the agenda, you come back, and just to be an active member of the committee. Just make sure you're showing up and attending and participating.
Okay.
And if you have those pieces, you have now you have the invitation to ask questions on the website. So if you have
Okay.
questions there, or bring the questions here for new business, you can also ask that.
Okay.
But I like to do like a sort of open forum at the end of meetings. That way, if you have questions, you can ask me directly.
Okay.
I don't always have the answer though,
Okay.
because I'm new also.
Yeah. We'll be new together.
In the back, yes, ma'am. More questions, come on.
I think you're going to the sidebar.
Then maybe a sidebar.
So basically, we went to school today to go get water for this machine, all the medication and that part was closed.
Yep, they're replacing them.
Okay, and then we also, like, for kids who don't have water bottles, we just go and buy water at school, what should we do now?
Well, I would say there are water bottle filling stations. So you could bring your own to fill, what they would not recommend. But we're replacing, the district is replacing those vending machines and going with a different company. I don't know when the timeline of that is. So those are gonna be replaced. I never would have. But I don't know when. I think within the next month or so, but I don't take my word for it. But I know that they're under contract with the company.
Water, like. So like, are you gonna give about, like, person take 5, 6, 5, like, water in some minutes?
We can do that with our PPE. So I can talk to them about it. We have them. Other questions? Great. Hot seat.
Just don't.
Anything else?
And please, if something, another question does come up, we have the online that you can post a question. We'll get to it and try to. Another one. And so if you have any of those questions, please post.
So we've been kind of talking about the district separating the schools, and they want to know if they want to how to like deal with that.
That is a great question. They have two different meetings coming up this week, Wednesday and Thursday. Last Wednesday. Thank you. That was gone. I'll take my son to college. So there's two different meetings that happened last week. Nothing has been approved by the school board yet. We're going to bring it to the school board to have them look at the rezoning. So they're doing two things. They're doing both rezoning and they're shifting sixth grade back to the middle school. So there's a lot going on. So it should be some interesting meetings coming up. Are they rezoning?
Consider.
Building.
So was there for?
No, they're building a building at Matanzas, because they don't have a big enough CTE department, so they're working on a building there, but they have the capacity to add some students. We're at 2,670 students. They're looking to reshuffle. They're going to move some students, they're gonna change the lines of where people go to school. So we're not really involved with that. It's more the district guiding that process of, hey, let's have these boundaries in order. And there will be some pieces where you're sort of grandfathered in some cases. So depending on where you are, and you can still apply for that. school choice waiver, because that is the fourth factor. Okay, another one, come on.
Okay, so this is about everyone's probably dress code. We heard that there was a thing at the last school board meeting about dress code where they were talking about having an attachment to dress code. Is there any way for us to sign up for that?
The SGA actually, did you go to the SGA meeting last week? The SGA talked about that in their meeting. So my suggestion that any student who's asked is to work together to build like what they want. So the student voice is important. And so the SGA had a meeting, they talked about that. Were you involved with that? Okay, and so in that meeting, I think they're going to take ideas from that and take it to the school board to present. So, right.
And coming up with like more ideas of what should happen. Because there are lines you have to draw.
Of course.
But there are some things that are kind of exaggerated in terms. We kind of have to reevaluate with time. Like, we know kids who got in dress coded for too many zippers, or like one small hole that may have happened in school. We know kids who get dress coded for like stuff like t-shirts when they see other people wearing the same clothing that they didn't get dress coded for, yet someone else did. And it's kind of, you have to evaluate the situation, say, why are some kids getting dress coded?
And so what I'll say to that is, with 2,700 students, it's hard to monitor, get it all done. So the adults have to be on the same page. So when the adults are on the same page, then it's difficult to, like, if I'm teaching and you're teaching and I send all the kids up for dress code and you don't, then it makes it difficult for teachers that are, really stringent on dress code. So that's the hard part, is getting in with 150 teachers, 200 staff members. That's the hardest part in it. And I think that the school district is definitely going to listen to the students. So if you haven't jumped on the SGA thing and jumped into that, I would get involved with them, because I know they're going to put a petition forth to the school board to present. I don't know when. Did they give you a timeline when they're doing that?
Do a petition?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Well, they just took ideas.
They're taking ideas.
Okay. So maybe you guys get together and know when the next meeting is and go there and give your input. I know that that's important. Anything else back there? You guys okay? Just- anything else for me?
Before we do a motion to adjourn, we are required as a Title I school to have a Title I parent meeting. It is going to follow this meeting. And I will make it very brief. I have a presentation that's required to show. You are not, please do not feel like you're obligated to stay, but I am just letting you know, I'll go through it very diligently and with the utmost concern for your time if you choose to stay.
And last element that I'm adding to new business, we're going to be adding to the agenda. We're going to have some speakers come in, whether it be school security, school health, or any of the other teachers that we want to bring in, or that we can bring in, whether it's from the flagships, any of the flagships, or the athletic teams, or the arts department. So expect to have a presentation, hopefully at each one of them, so we can learn more about the school and they can tell you about what that. Last on the agenda is adjournment. I believe we don't need a motion, but I will set the.
So I was looking at September 27th, if that works.
So September 27th is the scheduled next meeting. We penciled that in. We're going to make sure that it's good for facilities and everywhere else. If it changes, we'll make sure it's posted.
Now, with being in person, do we want to shift back to 6 instead of 6:30? Or
That's what I was wondering, like, is it only 6:30?
it was previously 6,
Oh.
but we did it to 6:30 thinking. we were
Is
gonna do-
6:30 acceptable?
I like
Any,
6:30.
any objections to continuing at 6:30? Next month, 6:30, until we'll always review that. And I'm going to set a motion to adjourn. It is 7:35. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.
Thanks for coming.
And
Come
again,
back.
if you're able to stay for the Title I, we would appreciate it.
Yeah.